Hello and welcome to the series preview of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev and this is going to be my long-term Football Manager 16 career save. So what I wanted to do with this episode is just give you a little bit of background about how I play Football Manager. I've had a few comments in some of my other series just questioning some of the seemingly odd decisions that I make. I do play it in quite a specific way, so I wanted to explain that and also explain my plans for this series. So let's get straight into it. So firstly, I am a lower league manager, and I don't just mean that I manage a lower league team. I mean I play full-on LLM style long-term career saves. There are a lot of different interpretations of what LLM actually means, but for me, it means a few of these things. Firstly, it means I need a lot of leagues loaded, because if you're playing a long-term career save, I've had saves 25, 30, 35 seasons long before playing in this style, and what you find very quickly is if you don't have enough leagues loaded, you start to lose a little bit of the realism. The regens start to be very focused towards the playable leagues. For example, if you just have England loaded, England start to dominate the world, and it becomes all too easy to sign up all the best regens and just dominantly win Premier League and Champions League every single season. So you need a lot of leagues loaded and you need a large database. So I'm going to be setting it up like that first of all. And also there will be no database edits of any kind. With the exception of the fact I've put a logo pack and a real kits pack on. I've not bothered with getting face packs, partly because I'm running this game on a MacBook Air and I only have 128 gig of storage, so I don't want a 7 or 8 gig file size face pack thing. And also this is going to be a long-term save. Before too long there's not going to be a huge number of existing players still in the save, so it seems silly to waste a lot of storage space on my computer to put a load of faces in there that aren't really going to be hanging around in my game for very long. It won't be long before it's dominated by regens. Also, tactics wise, all tactics will be completely my creation. I'm not going to be downloading any tactics. I'm not going to be copying any tactics from anyone else. Likewise with training plans. Realistically, I don't get that into the training side of things. I've had a little play around with it on FM16 and it doesn't seem hugely different from 15. So in all likelihood, I'll be leaving training to my assistant manager. But certainly what I won't be doing is downloading any fancy training plans that may guarantee all your high potential players become awesome. I don't really see the point of doing things like that. And just to emphasize again, there is going to be no editing of the database before or during the save. There'll be no use of any kind of in-game editors. I won't know things like the current ability and potential ability of my players because a real-life manager wouldn't know that, so there should be no way for me to know things like that either. On that note of really focusing on realism, I'm never ever going to be touching the player search screen. There's no real world equivalent of this screen. The particular things I don't like about it are the fact that you can filter it in such detail. I'm not averse to getting a list of players who've been released on free transfers. I know stuff like that really exists in the real world, but you get an inbox item telling you which players have been released by which clubs. That's fine. If you see it, if you get that inbox item, I've got no issue with sending scouts to look at those players. What I don't want to be able to do, and what you can't do in the real world, is set up a player search for 17-year-old left wingers with a pace of 17 and acceleration of 17 and then go and get those because you've identified them as wonder kids. That just takes so much of the realism out of the game for me. I'm not really into that. I appreciate some people love that side of the game, and I certainly wouldn't ever say other people shouldn't do that, but for me, I want this to be as realistic as possible, and that means players are going to be players that I've been able to scout or find or identify in the game. There will be no use of the player search screen. Likewise, no use of the staff search screen. You shouldn't be able to go and hoover up all the scouts that have 20 for their judging player ability, judging player potential. It's not something you could do in real life. You hire staff by putting out job adverts and by talking to existing staff and getting recommendations from them, and that's how I'll be hiring my staff in the game. It'll all be via the job centre or via recommendations from my current staff. So signing of players, I will only sign players who have been identified by my scouts or who I'd know about in game. And what I mean by that is if I'm playing against a team and a player has a cracking game against me, I can scout them and have a little look at them. Or if I'm linked to a player in the media, again, I know about them in game now. I can now send my scouts to have a look at them. But if a player hasn't been identified by by my scouts or become known to me in the game, then I can't sign them. I've had a couple of people speaking about my current beta save with Tottenham and how my signings have been a little bit unusual. Would be one of the nicer ways to put it. And the reason for that is they're the players that came up on the scouts. I didn't want to break the realism for me by going and picking all the players from the real world who I know are good, or by looking at player searches and identifying all the top players. My scouts and my existing staff pointed me towards those players, so they're the players I signed. And like I say, new staff will be based purely on people applying for the jobs through the job centre, or by existing staff recommending new staff to me, or by promoting players. So if I have a player who's been at the club a long time, I'll give them a coaching role at the end of their career. It's what I do in real life, so it's what I'm going to do in the game as well. You've probably got the gist of this by now, but any decision I make in game is going to be based on exactly how I would make that decision in real life. I go for full-on immersion, ultra realism, RPG mode in this game. I'm certainly not going to stick with the same club all the way through unless there's absolutely exceptional circumstances and real life reasons why I would do that. In the real world, if a bigger club comes in for me and offers to double my salary, I'm probably going to take double the salary, just like I would in the real world. Likewise, if I get sacked and the next job that comes up is in the Brazilian second division and they're only offering me roughly what I could earn staying in the UK and working in a bar, I'm not going to go and take that job in Brazil, because in the real world, if I was offered 15 grand a year to go and manage a team in the Brazilian second division, I couldn't fly over to Brazil and move my whole family and do that for 15 grand a year, so I won't do it in the game either. So there will be lots of those kind of story elements, real world elements coming in alongside what's actually going along inside the Football Manager save itself. So on that note, my first club in this save is going to be Boston United, purely on the basis that they're the nearest playable club in the game to my front door. And I know that because I've checked. I went onto Google Maps. Boston United's ground is 26.5 miles from my front door. I checked it on Google Maps, and that works out at a 38-minute drive from my house, providing traffic's good, and I checked that too. So I know that I can manage Boston United whilst commuting from my current house, don't need to move. It also means if Torquay come in for me and offer me a job 6 months in, if they're not offering me enough money for me to relocate my family, then that's how I'm going to be basing my decision. We are going to be ultra realistic with this save. Little bit of background about Boston for anyone who's not familiar with them. They play in the National League North, so what would have been the Blue Square North or the Skrill North, or whatever it's been in recent names. It's the 6th tier of English football. They're known as the Pilgrims, and they play in amber and black, hence the colours of this little episode here. Their local rivals include Lincoln City, Scunthorpe United and Grimsby Town, and they were members of the Football League from 2002 until 2007. That's the only time they've been in the league, and obviously goal number one is to try and get them back moving in the right direction towards the Football League. Whether I'll be able to hang around for a full 2 promotions with them to get them back into the Football League, or whether that's likely to get me noticed by a bigger club and see me moving along, I guess we'll find out. I have played as Boston United on this kind of save on last year's game on FM15, and it took me 4 years to get offered a new job. I never actually made it out of the Conference North. We were in the playoffs a couple of times, but in the end I got offered a job to move to a conference club, and gradually I did make my way up to the Premier League eventually, but very little of that was to do with actual promotions. It was a lot of jumping jobs at the right times and getting the odd promotion here and there. So these saves can be a lot of fun, and as I say, there will be a lot of story and background around it. So Boston United are going to be my new employer, at least until something better comes along, and I will make sure I let you know as and when offers come in or job opportunities become available, and I'll make sure I fully explain exactly why I'm moving clubs and making the decisions that I'm making. So hopefully this is going to be something a little bit different from your normal YouTube Football Manager save. I am going to be doing daily episodes. I'm going to be releasing at 6 p.m, 7 days a week. And the first episode of this is going to be on Monday, the 16th of November. It's basically, I'm waiting for the full version of the game to come out and giving myself the weekend to get up and running in the game. And I'm also doing something a little bit crazy on the Saturday. I'm doing a 24-hour live stream for charity, so I won't get a chance to get started on this game probably until the Sunday afternoon. So we'll get the first episode out on the Monday, and then it's going to be daily episodes, 6 p.m. every day from that point on. So if this sounds like something that's going to interest you, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You'll never miss an episode then. And if you are excited for this save, if you could pop a like on this video, that's going to be awesome and really makes a difference towards getting people excited and involved in the save. I want this to be something that we're able to chat about and work together and sort of really get some discussion going in the comments as a community. So if you've got any thoughts on what I've said in this episode, love to hear what you think in the comments. I'm quite happy to get a conversation going with people, as you'll see from the comments on my other videos. So yeah, make sure you subscribe so you can check out that video. First episode on the 16th of November. In the meantime, I've got my my Up the Posh FM15 save is going to be running until this series starts, and I've also got my FM16 beta save with Tottenham, which isn't going very well, but it's worth a look as well, just to see just how easy it is to fail when you're not used to jumping straight into a Premier League club. Thanks very much for watching.